out there? Welcome back to the Phantoms Fanatic YouTube channel. I am back from my hiatus from No Meandering Conversations podcast. I was on vacation, so tomorrow I will have another episode. Not tomorrow, but next week I will have another Meandering Conversations episode podcast thing. Anyways, so just for future notice, I'm going to be trying to get 3 reviews out during October. It'll be like Friday to Monday. The weekend is when I'll slip in these reviews. Anyways, obviously this review is of Smile, released this year in 2022, starring Susie Bacon, Kathleen Stacy, Jesse T. Usher, Kyle Gallner, Rob Morgan, and Nick Abranglowy and Cal Penn, and it was directed by Parker Finn. Obviously, this film follows a psychologist doctor who, after experiencing a suicide from one of her patients that says she sees this weird entity smiling at her, she starts experiencing visions of smiles and dead people, and as the terror takes over her life, nobody begins to beginning to trust her, and due to her past, and due to her past with her mother's mental illness, they think she's going crazy and no one believes her. And she tries to survive this curse that keeps spreading from person to person. So, ironically, the movie Don't Worry Darling, who had, I don't remember her name, but 13 from House in it, which I thought was going to be the better horror movie. To be honest, the one with Cal Penn, who was also in House, that I thought was just going to be very standard, was actually pretty fucking good. Obviously, everybody has used this thumbnail with the smile, because that's the easiest fucking thing, and let me tell you, this is the easiest thumbnail I've came up with. Don't worry, darling, I had no fucking idea what I was gonna do for that thumbnail, but yeah, one thing is that thumbnail was easy to make. Anyways, so as I was saying, I actually was relatively surprised by this film. Obviously, it takes a lot from this subgenre of horror movies where it's a curse that's following a person that spreads from person to person. It's The Ring, it's It Follows, Would You Rather, which I thought not Would You Rather, Truth or Dare. I honestly thought that this film was going to be at the same quality as Truth or Dare, but to be honest, it wasn't, because one thing, Truth or Dare used that stupid smiley thing like they do in this movie. I think, now this is for the most part, when the smile creature appears and people are smiling at them, it is disturbing and creepy. And I think it's mostly practical. I don't think they use any CG augmentations, which I like. And it is genuinely fucking creepy, is the smiling when it appears. I will say, this movie has a very good sense of building dread and keeping the audience unease. When I was watching this, you are constantly looking around to see if anybody's smiling in the background, or if the demon is going to appear out of nowhere to attack or antagonize the main character. I will say, few cheap jump scares in here, but I feel like for the most part, they're used in a creative way, such as there's a scene where a character is listening to an audio recording and she turns it up as you're listening to it, then a jump scare happens at the end. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's clever. And this movie also takes a lot from psychological horror, which is not one of my favorite subgenres of horror, because psychological horror I have a problem with, because a lot of it's just a dream inside of a dream, or it's fake inside of a fake, the fake out shit, which it does that a bit. As I said, it keeps going with it's a fake inside of a fake inside of a fake, and I'm not the biggest fan of it. There is a technical reason for it, and it does go into the theme that this movie is exploring, which I do like, even though I feel like the jump scares sometimes can be a bit cheap, and and the whole it's all in her head aspect is played out a bit too long, and especially with the ending, it kind of fucks with you on that, but it ended in a way that I was like, okay, yeah, I kind of expected it to end in that way, because usually in these types of movies, you have a confrontation at the end, and either it goes two ways, and I feel like the design of the creature that they picked at the end of this was really creative, and pretty well done, even if it's all done CG. I thought it was a very creative and creepy design that I really did like. And most of the actors are acting their ass off. Sosie Bakun, sorry if I'm mispronouncing her name, is killing it as this lead character, dealing with nobody believing her. It kind of reminds me of Candyman in that aspect of how everybody, not the new one, but the old one, that everybody thinks she's the one killing them, but there's this other presence that's affecting her life, and no one's believing her except you, the audience, which is so good. I feel like that really tackles the theme of mental health, where only like one person, her ex-boyfriend, played by Kyle Gardner, who's also pretty good in the film, isn't believing her. And her performance, you really get that it is this tortured character who is trying to survive this curse and no one's believing her. And especially it dives deep into the themes of mental health and depression and mental health spreading from person to person. I feel like, yeah, it does a very good way of going into the mental health and how it affects people. Its themes of that are very compelling and very well done, especially with the climax. Obviously, these type of movies have a relatively standard formula to them, where, you know, they confront the beast or they learn about it in that. I will say, the film relatively does different things, but when it hits those marks, it isn't the most compelling, but it's well done enough to where, okay, yeah. And especially the way that this creature spreads through trauma and grief, it really does come across as that this film is really diving deep into its sub-themes. This movie, I will say, really did surprise me. When I saw this trailer, I thought that this movie was just going to be a standard Ring knockoff, Would You Rather type, not Would You Rather, Truth or Dare type movie, but I was really surprised by it, the fact that it went into a more depressing atmosphere and really build up a creative sense of dread by making the audience constantly looking for things and hitting them with jump scares that are for the most part well done, even though some are cheap. And the psychological horror aspects I'm not the biggest fan of, but for the most part this movie is shot really well. It reminds me of Candyman with a lot of upside down shots of cities and downward shots focusing on the main character, and there are good scenes of fright and tension in this, and there isn't a lot of levity, which I feel like it's done on purpose to where you aren't supposed to feel safe or confined in this. I also think that it's actually Kathleen Stacy who's the main character in this. It really does dive well into the characters, into the theme that it's going into, and it builds such a creative sense of dread and has good scares for the most part that I definitely recommend this. It is not an easy sit through. It does have depressing themes on suicide and stuff, and it builds a very good sense of dread, but just to let you know, it's not like a fun thrill movie that you're gonna go see. This movie does try to build a sense of dread and depress the audience with this character's struggles, and I really do appreciate that, and it's well done in this. I feel like I definitely recommend this one. This is another one where horror's been killing it, except for Don't Worry, Darling. For the most part, horror's been really good, so yeah, I definitely recommend this one. It wasn't bad, even if the psychological horror elements of the fake-outs annoyed me in some moments, and some jump scares are not the most compelling. I feel like for the most part, it is carried by the main leads and this sense of dread that is building up, and with the score and the editing really does build a compelling ending to the film that is obvious the way it's going, but still keeps you engaged throughout. So yeah, I definitely recommend this one. It is really surprising for me that this was actually really good. I wasn't expecting that much out of this. So hope you guys enjoyed. Please like, subscribe down below. If you have any other movies you want me to review, make sure to leave those in the comments section. Make sure to share and favorite with people. If you have thoughts on the review or the movie, make sure you put those in the comment sections, and I will see you all next time.